Hi, I'm Joanne Banko from Let's Go Sew. And today I'm going to show you how to embellish a jean jacket and jazz up a jean jacket so you can take your wardrobe into spring looking fresh and beautiful. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you 3 different methods for embroidering on a jean jacket. And one of those methods is sure enough going to work for you depending on your embroidery capability and the machine that you have. So let me take you over to the jacket and just point out a few things here. I'll tell you what I did and how I did it, and then I'll show you what I did and how I did it. I started off with appliques. So I actually created something I call off-site embroidery, and the pieces that you see here, I'll explain those again in just a minute, but that's what you see on the shoulders, and that's what you see, let me turn her around, on the back. So you probably already noticed I went for a symmetrical look on the front, but I went a little rogue on the back and placed those appliques just kind of in a random manner because I thought it was a little bit of fun. And always remember, people see you coming and they see you going as well. So I love adding embroidery to the back of a garment. So these are actually done on netting, and those are done as an applique. Next up is designs that are precisely placed. You saw the one on the back there, on the center of the yoke. And then on these 2 yoke areas here, let me point them out there. You can see those. Those are done with a more precise method of placement, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. And that's also how the in between the buttonholes is done. And then I have a third method for you, which is how I did the sleeve, and that's going to be done with a very special method using an app to precisely place the design exactly where we need it to go. All right, so let me go to the table here and let me explain a few things that I have here. I talked about appliques. So when I say applique, what I'm doing is I'm creating off-site embroidery, meaning I'm embroidering in a hoop, and then I'm cutting out those pieces and applying them to the garment. Now they can be applied a couple different ways. One is by actually using a fusible webbing product. So that's what this is paper-backed fusible webbing. And what I do to start off the embroidery is I layer 2 layers of very fine bridal tulle, netting we call this, very fine. Because it's fine, I use 2 layers, with 1 layer of a water-soluble mesh-style fibrous stabilizer. I put that in the hoop. When I made these, I actually used a large enough hoop that I could do 2 at a time. And I created a little applique outline around it. That's something that I have built into the machine, and you may have that as well. If you have that, it just gives you a guide to cut, because once I have created those appliques, I'm going to take my curved tip scissors, and I'm going to literally cut away. Let me just do a little bit here so you can see. I'm going to cut away that applique outline, which is a straight stitching. Okay, you're going to be real careful with that. But I'm going to be able to get really even around there. Now, if I didn't have that applique outline, I would just freehand this. And I would just do, by visually following that embroidery design. So I think you get the picture there. You can see where I just took that away. I would do that all the way around. Then I would take and I would dissolve the water-soluble stabilizer. So I've got all of that removed, and I'm left just with that beautiful embroidery thread and that beautiful design on my netting. And if I want to make it fusible, what I do is I take it, let me turn this around this direction so you can see it a little bit better. I take it and I lay it on my paper-backed fusible web, and I trace around it with a pen. Now, I'm going to cut it basically the same way that I cut that netting away, but I'm going to be cutting away the paper. When I peel it off, I'm going to be left with that little film. Now, it's clear, so it's a little hard. It's hard to pick off the paper, and it's hard actually to see. But when I do that, I tear it a little bit. Maybe we can get that picked up a little bit. Nope, it's not going to go. So it's very delicate, but it also makes for a very delicate fuse. So that's how I did the shoulders, and just with steam and a press cloth that fuses down really, really well. On the back, I chose to straight stitch around that. So that's another option. If you don't want to fuse, you don't want to go through this method, you can just lay those down, select a thread that is going to blend in. In my case, I used white, and I just straight stitched all around that. And I'll flip this around so you can see it again. I think you'll see all of that stitching just disappears completely. And you're left with floating embroidery designs, basically, but they're thoroughly and completely attached. Okay, so now let me show you the template method. And the template method can be done a couple different ways. You may have embroidery software that allows you to print a full color or black and white if you choose to use your grayscale version on your printer, full size version of whatever embroidery design you want to stitch with crosshair markings. And that's so that you can properly center it. Now, what if you don't have embroidery software? Well, we've got other options. One of my favorite methods is to just simply cut a piece of paper that would be the same size as my embroidery design. All embroidery designs have a center point, symmetrical or not, they have a center point, and they all have a height and a width. So if you can draw that on paper, then you can very easily mark the center and use that wherever, however you would need that to be to see if it's going to fit in that area. This would have been the one that I used on the back of the jacket, and that allows you to place that perfectly. Then you simply mark all those 4 points, connect it together with a ruler and a washout marker, and that gives you your perfect center point. Now, what about hooping? Well, that's one of the things about jean jackets. Well, let me back up for 1 second, tell you about this paper. This is printable graph paper, but it's in millimeters. And you can find printable graph paper online, and it's just an easy way to determine the size. Why do I like millimeters? Well, they're more accurate, to tell you the truth. I know a lot of us fight with that. We like inches because that's what we're used to. But if you look at the design size in millimeters, you'll be able to get pretty accurate. Again, we're concerned about that center point. So if that piece of paper is a little bigger or a little smaller, as long as we're not linking those designs, we'll be perfectly fine. So imagine that I marked it on the front. Once I mark it on the front, I would then transfer it to the wrong side, which may seem a little crazy to you if you haven't seen this yet, but that's actually what I did here. I've transferred that, so that's where I need the center of the design to be. And why did I do it on the wrong side? Because I'm going to use a sticky method to hold my jacket. One of the things about jean jackets is you really need a way to hoop it, and that's why I have the big hoop out here. If I wanted to embroider, lay this here real quick, that whole area there, I'm gonna want to use a bigger hoop and use sticky paper. But let me show you how I would do this one. I'm gonna lay it on a grid here. I'm gonna match up the center lines, and then I'm gonna simply just match up the center lines on my jacket with the center lines on the hoop, and I could see that grid right through that. I would be able to take that over the machine and perfectly place it. And we can nudge it as well. All right, let's move this out of the way and let's get this hoop back because I want to use this. Because I have a little extra here. I have a cuff that didn't get embroidered. So let's take this off. And we are going to use the app to precisely place now what I need to do. So I am going to start by placing a marker that shows the direction of the design. Let me get this straightened out just a little bit. Okay, which that would be the top and the center. And I want to match this cuff that I did right here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my app. I'm going to take this over to the table. All right, and with this app, I'm going to be able to select for capturing the image of what's in my hoop. So I'm going to touch the icon for that. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK again. It told me to put the marker on there, so now I'm literally lining this up. Snaps the picture. I send it to the machine. So this is sending. Only takes a few seconds. It's now sent to the machine, so let's go over and finish the process and stitch out this beautiful embroidery design. Move that over. Just like home, things drop out when you move them around. Okay, I'm going to touch OK. It's telling me that the image was sent. Now it tells me everything I need to do. It tells me to attach the frame. I'm going to do that. Okay, make sure everything's stuck there nicely. I say OK again. I say OK again. I just follow those directions. And we've got one more thing to do here. We're just going to fine-tune that position there. Say OK. It's going to find the spot. It's going to allow me to ask for that to be turned to match the marker. And there we go. We are good to go and ready to sew. Okay, my embroidery design is finished. Let me go back over to the table. We'll take this off, and you can get a look at it. All right, I simply tear this away, and I can clean up the rest of that little excess later. All right, there you've seen 3 different ways to embellish a jean jacket, spruce it up for spring, go from blank to beautiful with applique, with precise positioning using templates, and precise positioning using an app. So I'm sure with your machine, with your capability, one or more of those ways will work for you, and you'll be able to embellish something similar. Use these methods on any garments you'd like. There's really a lot of different ways that you can do this. It's very easy to do and really makes a statement piece. So visit the website. You'll find free instructions that will take you step by step, and I hope you can make your own beautiful jean jacket and enjoy it as much as I do.